Hey guys, what's going on? We got Marius here, who's been crushing it with a local lead gen in Australia, and he's one of my students. And I wanted to get him on this call because he's just killing it, and I wanted to kind of hear about what he's doing with YouTube ads for local businesses, as that's something that isn't really covered a lot. So, welcome, Marius. I hope.
Hey mate, how's it going? Yeah, my name's spot on, mate. So don't worry about that. Not a lot of people can get it right. A lot of people butcher it. So completely, it's spot on.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so we run a marketing agency or lead gen agency or whatever, say in Australia, working with clients specifically in the finance space, more mortgage related and investment related. As well as a little bit of solar stuff as well. But we've always been like for 3 years, it's been like Facebook driven because obviously Facebook gets you results super quick. It's easy to do, low entry barrier, the list goes on and on. But we've gone through so many bans and stuff over the period that it began to the point where it's like, do I actually want to keep doing my agency? Because every time I do want to submit or publish something, you get this little stress attack inside, whereas like if I hit this button, am I going to get zucked? Am I going to get screwed with another ban or anything like that? And it was very stressful. So I knew something had to change because obviously we were doing just Facebook as our primary source. Because it is so easy, it makes life a lot easier, right? And YouTube, maybe about a year ago or so, couldn't get results. It was super hard, especially for local. Like I spent like $2,000 or $3,000 into it, couldn't get results, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not time. And then went back to Facebook and eventually got banned again because that's just inevitable, right? You know how it works. It happens over and over again. And then just recently, probably about 6 months ago, I decided, no, I can't do this business model anymore. Like my balls is being held by Facebook essentially as to what we can earn, what we can bring on in clients. Every time my sales guy sold someone, I was having a panic attack because I was like, well, we got a client, we got to fulfill. I don't actually want to launch ads because then I'm likely to get my other stuff banned as well. Because it just happens. Like everyone says Facebook is great as long as you have everything compliant. Everything we do is compliant, but the algorithm just stuffs up. And biggest thing that happens is if it happens once, you're more likely to get it to happen again, and it's just you stuck in that cycle. So I committed to YouTube 100%, balls deep, and I said, I have to make this work, otherwise I have to drop the agency sort of stuff. We couldn't find anyone, to be honest, that does local stuff for YouTube, because a lot of our clients, they want to be local, like 20, 30 kilometer radius around their location. Couldn't find anyone. But I knew I needed the structure to understand YouTube, how it works and everything like that. And I went on massive spree on everything. And that's when I obviously got your stuff to get a better idea of how to structure the video, how to use YouTube, how to test YouTube, how to get all of that sort of stuff happening. Because I've already spent like 3-4K again before I got your stuff. And then I was like, okay, no, I'm stuck. I need to make it work. I got your program, and then okay, cool. Let's follow your structure on video. Let's follow whether you do it, how you test it, and then I was like, oh, cool. I'm actually getting results now. It's not in my KPIs, but okay, I'm getting results. And then I did more testing and more testing, and we were able to get our YouTube costs lower than our Facebook costs. So I was like, oh, this is next level. This is really good, and it's made such a big change over just the last 6 months. 90% of our traffic is YouTube now compared to Facebook. So our Facebook traffic is like 10% now. And YouTube is getting our clients way better results than what Facebook is getting. And I don't have to stress about any sort of bans or anything like that. And hey, Google, you can talk to a real person, which I've already done as well before. So which is pretty awesome. That's our journey, right? So local lead gen, agency, love working with clients, love everything. Really enjoy it. Now it's just scaling up. Like we've always been held back because like the scaredness of obviously having only that one platform that was a fulfillment platform. If we get stung, then that's it. We have to put everything on hold and wait for everything to get resolved.
That is awesome, and it's really really cool to hear about that. And yeah, so with the whole journey of figuring out YouTube ads for local, what do you feel like was the biggest breakthrough? Was there like a certain point where you figured something out that really helped results, or was it a gradual chipping away of things?
Yeah, so the it's I think it was a transition. It was not one thing that made the difference in it. The same thing as with like Facebook and YouTube, like you always have to be testing on YouTube. The biggest difference is the barrier to entry on YouTube is more because it's video. So you have to direct response, right? You have to get that video right because there's no fancy targeting or no ad copy that's going to save you. It's your video is what has to pull the user in, right? And then obviously you got to get your audience right as well. And what we have noticed is like the same videos that work on Facebook don't necessarily work on YouTube because it's not as like we need to be direct response. Like we are clear, or call to action is straightforward. It's clear. It's concise. We simplify the video, the structure, and everything like that, and make it short and to the point, right? Over time, I guess I've learned a lot from obviously having the right video structure, having the right personality for the video that goes with it as well. Because tonality we found is massive difference, right? So initially, now I do all our videos before I actually go out to get an actor, because then I know what my baseline is. Because I'm so committed to the industry, I know what happens in the industry and get the tonality right. If I hire an actor straight away, they don't get the same tonality and the video tanks. And then I question like, why is this tanking? Because the script is on point. So for us, I always do the videos myself, and then I will put different actors so we can split test the different actors to see the different results. The biggest thing, I guess, if I had to put it down to one thing, is YouTube needs more time than Facebook. Like Facebook, you can, in a day or two, you can see if it's going to work or not. With YouTube, I'm not finding that the case. I've got to give it like 3 to 4 days minimum before I touch anything or do anything to see if it's there. And for being like comparing to Facebook, where it's like that instant gratification, you're going to know straight away if it's going to work or not. YouTube, you have to just let it do its thing for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love that point about tonality you made. That's actually a really great point, and we've seen that, and that's something that's kind of a little bit of a struggle for us, right? Because it's like, we're working with clients, and basically sometimes the clients are the face of the product in many cases, right? Like if they're in the info space, they are the people who are always in the VSLs and the video series and the webinar, so they have to be on the video. And we noticed that like this basically the same, we have the same scripts, like the same copywriter who we've basically worked with for years, who knows how to write really high converting YouTube ad scripts. And that one client who's like very charismatic will get like 40 to 50% higher click-through rates than somebody who's like just a little bit more boring, a little bit more chill. And that's something, we're trying to kind of figure out with like basically, coaching them on tonality and teaching them, okay, this is kind of how you say the script and how you do it so that the tonality kind of hits it. And that's a really awesome thing that you've done there by actually like figuring, like doing the ads yourself first, seeing what works, and then split testing different actors. And that's kind of what we do with e-commerce lead gen stuff. We like have different actors, but for the info stuff it's a little trickier because you kind of have to coach people into doing that. And the second point you made about YouTube ads taking more time than Facebook ads, I agree 100%. Like Facebook ads is quick and easy, it's nice and fast, but then you get the account bans, you can't scale, you get all these issues. While YouTube ads, it's a little harder, it's not instant gratification, but it's just overall long-term way easier. Like if you get YouTube working, which initially it's going to be a pain, like in your case, as you said, took you a while, like it was painful, but once you figured it out, like you're golden. Like you have an awesome source of traffic, and you can keep scaling your agency with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like now that we have it cracked, and again, making that shift that now 90% of our traffic is YouTube. That, like, I never thought that was going to be the case, because YouTube is getting us way better results for our clients. It's higher intent leads. The quality is better. I don't have any issues with banning. I can, if I want to change a budget today, yes, it's going to perform worse today, but tomorrow it's going to be back to what it was pre-budget change, right? So it's not not the same where in Facebook, like you change your budget and you hope for the best that it's going to scale up with that. So I found YouTube way more stable as well. Like we can leave campaigns for weeks on end without touching it, and they just keep working. We don't have to change anything. And the worst case that we do, what we found is because we run local, the only thing we actually do is we rotate our video out to another video, and then we rotate again. That's it.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious. So you're working mostly in um, finance and mortgages, and as well as solar, right?
Yeah, finance. So any sort of like mortgage stuff we do, property investing stuff, and solar.
Got it. How have you found solar lead gen to be?
It works. So same thing. Facebook, like the comparing is the same. It took a while to crack it, but once it works, it works. And I always make sure that the creative that we use on YouTube never gets shown on Facebook, right? Because I know as soon as I show my creative on Facebook, someone's going to rip it and they're just going to run it till the end of time, and it's going to no longer have the traction. It's one of the things that I like on YouTube, right? Is because someone can't just see all your stuff straight away. Like Facebook has library, cool, you can go and rip anything and rip the landers and do everything you want. YouTube, you have a little bit of an advantage, right? Because you have that, I guess, anonymity, like no one's going to see your video straight away. And then they can't actively go and search for it unless you're in the targeting group, which is sweet. And at the same time, the barrier to entry is as well. Like people don't do the videos because it's harder to do the videos than what it is to do a static image and rip some copy and all of that sort of stuff. Solar, once I got it working, it was working really good. We scaled it to like $1,000 a day, so it's easy, for local stuff as well. And biggest change was like going CPA bidding works a treat as well.
Target CPA bidding.
Yeah, once we found the sweet spot, it worked really well. So max conversions work. I guess I've noticed a little bit different. So I'm not sure if it's going to be the same when we do the US, but Australia's population is obviously smaller than the US. Like we've got like 26 million in Australia, right? If we launch max conversions in one area, it can do really well. If we launch in another area, in another city or another state, it can do really bad. But CPA is always like levels out over time, sort of stuff. So CPA is good. We enjoy it, but it's testing where that sweet spot is, where it's just spending enough, not spending too much, and getting us our cost, what we want for our cost per lead.
Got it. And how did you get to that? Because I remember you mentioned this in the group, like you started at a slightly higher bid and you went down, or how exactly did you figure that out?
Yeah. So initially for us, like what we want as a cost per lead, like my worst case scenario in anything would be like $30, right? Because that's what I've always had on Facebook. So when I decided, hey, YouTube, if I can keep it to the same, that'd be sweet. So $30 is like our worst case scenario that I want. So I always like the same methodology that I tested on Facebook. I tried the same on YouTube, where it's okay. First we testing $5 brackets. So start at $5, $10, $15, $20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and test which ones are actually getting traffic, right? And which are getting leads. But again, like leaving it 4 days, so it spends more, but I know it's like long-term gain for it. Some don't spend it all. And then what we found is once we've worked out of that, the top 3 that actually spends money, that gets a decent CPA, we went $1 increments from that to try and find the next tier for it. So if for instance, $10 worked, $15 didn't work, we went $10, $11, $12, $13 to see where that sweet spot is within each bracket as well. So that brought it down even more again. We hit that sweet spot where some days it wouldn't get traffic to, hey, we're always getting traffic on just having the right $1 increment on it.
That's a super cool bid optimization technique, and I haven't heard of that, so that's something we're probably going to start testing out as well, because usually what we do is we find that And I guess it also depends on the niches you're in, right? Like, I think with local, the cost per lead is like the end all and be all. But for us, we've usually always been like, basically, we've always played around with kind of, testing out different bids, but not trying to like get to that like hyper optimization of the bid itself. Because we've usually found that even if the bid is slightly higher, the conversions come in cheaper for a lot of our campaigns, right? Like we might have a bid, let's say that's like slightly higher, but the conversions come in cheaper and it's still spending. So then we keep increasing spend until, things kind of level off on that side. But that's an interesting technique, and I really want to use that. And again, it goes to show like you always want to be testing new things, and it's like there's like things that I can learn from like a lot of other people, and things that you can learn, and it's really important to just always be keeping your ears out for like new techniques.
Yeah, that's spot on. It's me like just trying to wing it, thinking differently. Like, how can I test this? But again, there wasn't anything for local specific, which makes it a little bit harder because as soon as you go local, it's obviously it's a way smaller demographic. So you taking this massive Google engine and you're restricting it to the amount of people that it can actually reach. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just trying to find that fine balance, I guess, between it.
Exactly. That's definitely like the challenge with local is like, reaching that smaller demographic and kind of, being able to figure out the optimization on that end. So one thing I'm curious about as well is with the local stuff, right, that you're doing, how do you like as an agency operate? Is it a mixture of retainers? Is it pay per lead? Is it like, what kind of model do you guys use?
Yeah, cool. So we run any all the models on the sun that we've tested. So we've gone pay per lead for some of our higher clients that have massive demands. We go pay per lead model because it gives them a static cost, and it's easy. A lot of the smaller clients they're not familiar to pay per lead sort of and stuff like that, so they prefer the retainer. But essentially, what we do is I personally love pay per lead because it gives me a static cost that I can aim for. Anything below that is pure profit. So even though I say it's a retainer model for local, we sell it as a hybrid, which is really pay per lead because the smaller local clients, they don't understand pay per lead yet. They see it as a static sort of cost and it confuses them because they've always been used to retainer sort of stuff, right? Not performance-based model, which performance-based model in Australia will eventually probably kick off, but it's not heavy in the mortgage space, for instance. I know it's massive in the solar space. Pay per lead that's like straightforward. This is what everyone does. In the mortgage space, in the property investing space, it's not that heavy. So we sell it as a hybrid model, but it's really pay per lead. But because we clients in the same area, we just use a lead distribution system to ensure that we don't deliver duplicate leads and the leads are unique to each client that we bring on board.
Got it. Yeah, and that and also with local clients, do you ever find that, let's say, they don't follow up with the leads and then complain about lead quality? Is that like an issue, or like because I used to do SEO in the local space.
So local 100%. Any agency that does lead gen and only does lead gen, you are losing out on your client retention massively, right? So we do the lead gen stuff, but we actually help them with sales training. We actually slot in our automated system, which does SMS, emails, voicemail drop, lead nurturing, and everything that's included because we know they are horrible at following up. They don't call a lead within 10, 15 minutes because they aren't used to that sort of. They call it the next day, and that's why we have to force them. That's why we have to force automation to try and do as much as possible to automate it for them because they forget about it. Like they get a lead and they're like, oh, I'll call them tomorrow. And then it's like, you can't do that when it's like lead gen for online space. It's like you need to call the person straight away. And that's why we do like the automation stuff. We teach them sales training, the best way to deal with online leads, because in the local space, a lot of people come from referral only business, but they've only ever done referral. They've never actually done online stuff. So we have to explain to them like referral, great. Your sales process can stay the same for referral. It's always the same. But when it comes to online, you need to change stuff. It's like a referral, instant trust from whoever refers it. Online lead space, you have no trust. You need to build that trust, the rapport straight away. And that's why we heavily focus on the process attached to online versus referral sort of stuff.
Wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, that's key. Like if you're looking like, local YouTube ads, like, yeah, the YouTube ads, I think compared to Facebook, there's a lot of advantages. In your case, you're getting lower costs and no bans, which is huge, but you also need to figure out like the actual, in the local space, you need to figure out the back end, because I've done local lead gen. I had like an SEO site I ranked, the ranked and rent model. And I had that. And yeah, it was, it's like I did that, and just basically sending leads to this guy who I knew through my friend circle, and he's a good guy and all, but he was never picking up the leads. So it's like,
I guess it's different. It's almost like we're babysitting them to try and help them grow their business by actually teaching them, and that's why we've got a heavy focus on actually teaching them a new way of doing things if they've never done sort of online advertising, because most businesses, especially in the local space, they've tried 3, 4, 5, 10 different agencies, and they always say, "Oh no, it was always a shitty experience. It was never working right." And I just call it the ex-girlfriend story. It's like, okay, like, do you think it's only ever one person's fault, or was it both people's fault that this didn't work? And usually that's when they realize, oh shit, maybe I could have done better, or maybe it's not just the one side's fault. There's rarely just the one side's fault, because it can always come down, if something's not working, you need to provide feedback for that agency, like why is it not working, right? Not just, okay, I've paid it, it's not working, I'm just going to stay quiet and wait for this to end. Like that doesn't resolve anything. And a lot of local businesses will do that. So, and I guess it falls on both sides. Again, the agency's like, oh, I got my money, cool, let's just deliver as much as we can for the client and then see you later. But that's churn rate, right? So, and churn is not good. You much rather keep your existing clients than churn, get a new client, have a crappy experience again, do the same thing over and over again. Whereas if you get the same client, you can get them on a contract, you can get them way better results, you lower your churn, but you actually help them not just with the lead gen, but with actually growing the business. That's what has to happen in local side of stuff, is you need to look at it, not just, hey, I'm going to give you leads. It's, okay, I'm going to actually have to help you grow your business, because then you're going to see the value in what I can provide to you, and we're going to keep working together and grow together.
Exactly. In any kind of service-based thing, like, you're running an ad agency, Facebook ads agency, YouTube ads agency, you have to remove the obstacles to client success. And a lot of time it's not your actual service. A lot of time there's like systematic issues, and I mean, that's tough, right? Like you got to figure out ways around it, right? So for us, for one thing, we basically built a whole video production department, right? We built a whole video editing team, we have a creative coordinator, we have like video production partners. So like now we can get videos done for clients for pretty affordable rates. And that brings me to my next question. So the creatives, you kind of touched upon that a bit. Like you basically said you shoot your own videos. So what is your creative strategy? Is it like talking head videos? How do you set that up?
Yeah, so we've tried a few things, right? So I've got a lot of advertorials that work really well on Facebook. So the first thing I tried was like, cool, let's just try and modify the advertorial to a purely talking head, like looking front on face and talk and see what happens. It worked, surprisingly, and the cost per lead was higher than what I wanted, but it was like, this is where I was like, okay, cool, Facebook works. The second video I tried actually worked, so cool, let's see what we can do here. And then we transitioned over to, it's got to be faster paced, and I feel for local, like having some sort of I guess something you can show physically, like a prop, works well, right? So in the solar space and the mortgage space, we follow the exact same structure, where the biggest thing that people want to look at is getting from A to B. And how did you get from A to B? We went here, we went to this side, and we did this, and then obviously structure it. So to give you a little bit of background, so for instance, we do quiz style, right? So long form quiz style, 10, 15 questions before someone, because we want to get higher intent from the lead. So what works in the space is, hey, we were here, We tell a story about we were here, we were point A, and then we got to point B. And then we reiterate to them the massive difference between A and B in potential savings. And how we got from A to B is we went to C. And then we went to C, we filled in a few bit of information. And then again, that's how we went from this to this. So if you want to have the same sort of outcome, go here, fill in the form, and that's the journey, right? But what we do is we show props. So it's whether we show bills or whether we show actual something where it's fast paced. And what I found is if your camera angle is the same, it doesn't seem to resonate as much. Like we get a drop off. We've looked at the analytics of it. If your camera angle stays the same for more than like 15, 20 seconds, it's usually like, cool, there's a drop. So we've tried and incorporated like shooting quick video, like just phone style as well. It's not professional or anything like that. It's legit phone sideways. We'll have a face, we'll show the prop. We'll have a face talking, we'll show the prop. We'll show the website, we'll have a face, we'll show the prop, and then we'll show the website again, sort of situation.
God, it's a lot of like different cuts, different props, different things that are like they're not just seeing somebody sitting there and talking, but instead there's a lot going on in the video. And actually, I do believe that's also something we've seen where whenever we add in edits, whether it be on-screen text, which often grabs their eye, it grabs their attention for a bit, whether it be between, let's say, in the info product space. You have the talking head, but then you add in a testimonial or you add in a screen share of like people's, results. And you have these cuts where, it doesn't have to be different camera angles, but it has to be something different where their eyes are getting taken off like that one static angle. And that definitely increases results. And so you basically started out by shooting these videos and you being in these videos, and then you started hiring actors.
Yeah, exactly. So I did it because I know the industry. I know what where to enunciate and get my tonality and everything like that to get it working. I think it's for me, it's easier because if I can get it to work, then I know someone else is going to be able to make it work, right? So in Australia, I've got an accent because I'm from South Africa, essentially. But we've noticed the accent, to be honest, doesn't make a difference because we've got New Zealanders, we've got US actors and everything like that. But what we have found makes a difference is between male and female. In every industry, it's different. So in the finance space, female actors tank completely. It doesn't work, just they get nothing. And that's because the finance space is always male-driven. It's heavily male as the authority figure, I would say. And we've tried like 3 different females. Every single time they tank. Exact same script, exact same structure, it tanks. Chuck in a male, no issues. Same, and it works. So this is where obviously split testing is super important. Because if you don't test it, then you never know if it's going to work. So yeah, we just get actors or Fiverr or Upwork. I give them my video that I've done, and I say to them, hey, I want this done. Here's the script. Do it the same style. You can be a little bit free flow in terms of the scripting because I don't want them to sound like a robot, like the way that they would do it. And then we just test that video. There's like, I don't speculate if it's going to work or not. I test it for 3 days and compare it to my baseline KPI.
Yeah, that's very cool, and that's similar to what we kind of do with a lot of our lead gen or lead gen and e-com clients. Is we get different actors. So we're doing lead gen in the health space right now, health insurance space, and we basically have different actors who are different like kind of genders and. Basically give them the script, give them direction, and so sourcing from Fiverr, sourcing from Upwork is good. I think backstage.com is also another one where you can find pretty good talent. Yeah.
Backstage.com. I was just putting a note there. I haven't actually seen that one before, so sweet.
Yeah, actually, I think Mike from our student group brought that up. So it's another, we were having student call and he was like, yeah, that's a good place to go. So yeah, basically once you get into YouTube ads and if you're doing anything beyond info where, let's say if you're in the info space, like pretty much either you or if you have your client in front of the camera, and then you basically want to use edits and scripting as your main levers. But once you get beyond that and you get into e-commerce and lead gen, you really want to be testing different actors. You want to be testing different types of videos, different cuts, different ways of showing the product. and then basically you want to make sure you have like these different options that you can plug in. So you want to make sure you have different actors that you can call upon if you get an insurance client or so on. And being able to kind of have eventually, right, like as you start scaling, your business or your agency, you want to make sure you have somebody who's like creative, who's a creative coordinator. So somebody who like literally just like goes out there, finds good actors, scripts the ads, like, coordinates the whole production process, because it's a lot of work. Like, do you guys have somebody like that, or you do that?
No, that's all me. So I don't. It's the same thing. If you have someone creative, it's going to be really good because they can come up with different angles to make it easy to not have to obviously do your whole video over and over again. You can just cut the first 15 seconds of your angle to make it easier. And as long as it transitions into the rest of the video, then you can get that same person to give you like 5 angles and test your 5 angles. And the base of the video stays the same. So we're not even into that yet because like I'm happy with where my cost is. So if it ever increases, then I'm like, okay, cool, I got to test more again. But yeah, no, nothing into that sort of creativeness. The videos that we're doing is working. We got I think like 5 or 6 people that we rotate through on Fiverr. That's working really well as well. So we just get them to do all the videos.
Awesome, man. And I'm curious, like, how many leads are you generating a month in these spaces?
Yeah, so we spend about $1,000 a day on refinance in the mortgage space on YouTube. So like our average cost per lead is like between 20 and $30. So whatever that equates to.
Wow. So you're like generating like 30, 50 leads a day, like I guess like maybe like 1,000 to 1,500 leads a month. That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot of leads.
It's a lot of leads. We like Facebook's a small percentage because we just retarget people that dropped off on our quiz, and we just retarget them on Facebook to see if we can get some of that cheap stuff come through and just drill it back into them. But yeah, that's the space. So our biggest issue at the moment is putting on more clients, because like the clients are getting to break-even point in month 1 and 2. In the mortgage space, that's like extremely hard. Whereas on Facebook, it used to be month 3 and 4. So we've killed that time to actually get to break-even for clients because they're getting better quality leads because of it as well.
That's awesome. And how are you getting clients right now? Is it like, do you have a certain strategy or?
Yeah, so we do paid ads. To be honest, I've done everything under the sun from cold emails to LinkedIn through everything. Paid ads is just easy. It's just the easiest way. If you can just get someone to book a call with you, it's way easier. So we structure our stuff on a 2-call structure essentially. Hey, do a quick 15-minute introduction call because we disqualify people on those calls. And then the second call, we'll book in a strategy call. The reason we do 2 calls is if you ever ask someone to book in a 45-minute call, they know they're going to be sold on that call. So your cost per call becomes extreme. If you book in a 15-minute call, they know they can't be sold in 15 minutes, but you can actually sell them the next call, which is completely fine, and your cost per call makes a massive difference. So whereas we'd pay for a 45-minute, if we VSL style it, we'd pay like $200, $250 a pop for a call. If we do just 15-minute quick intro call, we pay anything between $40 and $70 a call.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've noticed that as well when we were running a VSL funnel. To get calls is like a few $100 to get a call on the like on the longer one. So I want to try that. I want to try the 15-minute one and then get them on the 45-minute one. That's very awesome.
Because obviously, if you've got a sales guy, it's not your time; it's the sales guy's time. And if it's a static cost, you might as well keep him busy. So everyone's got different. Like agencies can be obviously you can get a closer, which is commission only, or you can get a full-time person or whatever. It's just the structure that you do that's associated with it. So we did our numbers compared to VSL. When we did VSL with the cost per call of a VSL, we'd have to close between 30 and 40% for it to be worth it. If we do the 15-minute style instead, our close ratio only needs to be 10 to 20%. So there's a massive difference, but the difference between each call is big difference. And the biggest thing with local is we just need to talk to more people. The more people you talk to, the more people you're going to sell. It's a simple thing. So we traded off the higher close rate for a lower close rate, but a way cheaper cost per call.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Then overall, it backs out into lower cost per customer. That's extremely cool. And and you guys have like a quick little VSL, and then you basically get them into the call.
Yeah, so essentially what we do now is we will just run straight from an ad to a quiz, which will be a disqualifying quiz. So if they're not ready to do something within the next 3 months, cool, we don't even give them the opportunity to book a call. If they, within 3 months, if they a decent size, if they have budget, we'll say, okay, cool, do you want to book a 15-minute call, introduction call? And they just book it that way. And we can book, book calls for between 40 and 70 bucks a call, which is way better than obviously a VSL. Again, VSL, you got to spend more. You got to have the VSL on point. I've gone through that steps, and my call cost was like 200 bucks plus. Our close ratio was higher, but again, if I spend 200 bucks a call, I can get three times more calls for the same spend. And I know personally, if we just talk to more people, we're going to become more familiar in the local space. So it works a little bit differently. Everyone runs their business different. I've tried it. Like the only thing I tell people is usually like test it. Like don't speculate it. Just test it.
Yeah, agreed, 100% on that. And that's a very cool model. And so what's the next step with YouTube ads in your business? Like, well, what is your next kind of goal with that?
Yeah. So next step is we're just putting on more clients. So our biggest thing at the moment, when people knew we started doing YouTube, everyone jumped on board because it's the new thing, right? It's different. We're getting way different results than Facebook. It's something new. It's something fresh. And we're one of the only companies in Australia that works in the mortgage space specifically, that does everything for brokers. So it's very unique. So for us now, we're busy fixing a lot of our SOPs, onboarding processes and all of that, so that we can scale past 10 clients a week. Because like if you put on that many clients, it's super hard to keep everything running smoothly. And yeah, it's like for me, letting go to let stuff break so my staff can fix it instead of me trying to fix everything myself.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of it, is like at a certain point, you got to just give up the control and, find people who are smart and let them do their magic, and just focus on the things you're good at and not mess around. I think it actually causes more harm to the business when the CEO is like constantly meddling. I mean, I've noticed that as well. Like I have 2 business partners, fortunately, so they keep me in check. So whenever I start getting a little too, like, oh, what's going on here, or start interrupting, start like, meddling, they're just like, Shash, fuck off. Like literally,
leave it
they'll
be.
tell me that.
Leave it be. Yeah.
leave it be.
I'm not. I don't have any partners, but yeah. So for me, it's one of the things that I learned is obviously you can have all the SOPs under the world and make everything look perfect, but stuff will still break. And for me, it's just holding back to let it break so they can see what broke, so they can fix it, and we can retrain that. So it's really hard to actually see something gonna break, and it's gonna break, and you let them do that just so that they can learn. Because for me, I'm analytical. I'm a logic person. So if I see something breaks, it's like I want to fix this before it breaks, not okay, just let them break it so they can learn why it broke and then fix it from there. And that's, I guess, the difference between doing it yourself and actually having a team to do it for you. You trade off your time versus their time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only way you can scale, is having a team. It's really hard to manage like a certain number of projects by yourself. And then even then, like if you're involved like in every part of the business, you kind of get stuck in it, right? Like you can't really do take time off, etc.
Yeah, you get stuck doing too much work. You get stuck at a certain rate for your agency. You're never going to go over that rate in terms of income, and you have to make the trade-off. You're going to have to pay staff to get your time back so you can focus on what you enjoy doing.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you being on this interview and just, spilling the beans. I think it's going to be of huge value to everybody. And I'm curious, like, what are some resources you would recommend for people who are trying to, like, get better at local, get better at YouTube ads, etc.?
Yeah, so I guess for me, like there wasn't a lot of like competitor research available, right? Because local sort of stuff, there's not a lot of local videos on YouTube, so which made it a little bit hard. I can tell you that if you are running Facebook only, you need to diversify. Like Facebook is only getting us. It's not a matter of if you get banned, it's when you get banned. So like the mentality has to shift there. I know that sounds horrible coming from someone that's run on Facebook for so long, but like imagine your whole business being on hold because the platforms just refuse you and banned you. Like that is the control that Facebook has over a business. And I have a lot of agency mates that get into that situation where they have nothing else that they can do but wait for the ban to go through. Or the same thing, you have multiple different infrastructures in place so you can have multiple Facebook accounts. Like what business has to go through that just to run ads? It's crazy, right? So the biggest thing like for YouTube is if you have to make it work or you have to make a different platform work for you, it's you are going to have to test it. Don't try and do it all yourself. Like go to someone that's actually done it before. There might not be something in local, but the stuff that I got from Sash and through the program was the testing methodology, the scripting sort of stuff, and having someone that's spent thousands of millions on the platform already skip the learning process so you don't actually have to do that. It's the same as you would do on Facebook. You're not going to just wing it on Facebook or any other platform. You're going to find someone that's actually done it before and learn from their mistakes because that's going to speed up your results way quicker. So it's super important if anyone wants to engage with any other platform. It's like find the person that's done it before and go and learn from their mistakes. Pay them for their time because it's going to save you your time.
100%. Yeah, I appreciate you being on here. So guys, give this video a like or subscribe, just so we can keep making videos like this. And yeah, if you guys want to check out the course, the same course that Marius went through, I'll have a link below. So, and honestly, I want to figure out this local stuff because I want to create training around it. Or if you want to create training around it, like, because I think people need to learn this stuff. It's pretty important. So yeah, guys, thanks for being on here. Everybody have a great rest of the day. Cheers.
Thanks, mate. See ya.